So the first thing we'll take a look at is hiding. All right. So hiding, this is in both the basic rules. If you don't have the player's handbook, you can download the free basic rules, and you'll see this block of yellow text here. It says hiding. All right. Hiding is basically used for passive perceptions, like the example of the player that walked into that final room. Spiders were basically hanging upside down in the shadows, and if those spiders all rolled higher stealth rolls versus his passive perception, they were still hidden. They're not stealth. They're not invisible. They are hidden. And that is taking advantage of the shadows and the terrain around you. Whether there be pillars, podiums with 25 people around, whatever. Hiding, all right? So when you try to hide, you're going to make a dexterity stealth check. So you can use your dex, and if you're proficient in stealth, then you'll add your proficiency bonus for stealth. All right, I can go with that. I'm totally cool with that. Now, until you are discovered or you stop hiding, that check's total is contested by the wisdom perception check of any creature that actively searches for signs of your presence. So now, if, for instance, that player that I'm going to refer to as Spider-Man, now if he would have went into the room and not been so broad as to say, what do I see in this room? I hate that, number one. As a dungeon master, I hope all dungeon masters hate that, because I want my players to tell me what they're doing. Okay, dude, I just like totally open up the door. What do I see? I don't want. When my players go into the room, I want them to tell me what they're doing. You're being cautious. You're checking the walls. You're checking the floors for any kind of tripwires, maybe pressure plates. I look up. So many players forget to look up. It's crazy, and then they wonder why. They wonder why the ochre jelly slams on top of their head, or the green slime, or they don't look at the walls, and then all of a sudden they are now suffering from some type of mold disease or sickness or illness. So when you just walk into a room, what do I see, dude? Something bad is gonna happen to you. In my game, at least, anyway. And I hope other dungeon masters do that as well, because when your players go into a room and they want to check out those things, they should be more descriptive. All right, so let's get back to Spider-Man. Now, for hiding, Spider-Man. If Spider-Man would have went into the room and said, "All right, Dave, I'm looking around here. I see that obviously the room is dark. I want to look at the walls, and I want to look at the roof above me. I want to see if there's anything there." Now, if he would have done something like that, I would have automatically given him a bonus. So, maybe I would have given him a +2 or a +5 on top of his roll. Maybe I would have given him advantage. Advantage is it's one of the main mechanics, selling points of D&D 5e. Even though I think it's really powerful, you could actually award them, and if they're, and this was a human as well. So he didn't have dark vision like the elves and all the other races that have dark vision. So he was behind the 8 ball. So he did not, the spiders up above that were hiding above his head, they made stealth checks. I did individual stealth checks for each one, because it's easy to do in a virtual tabletop setting. You just spam the button 4 times, or 6, depending on how many spiders there are. So Spider-Man, all spiders, they were above his passive perception. Now the spiders get the element of surprise. He had no clue, even though he actively searched, and searching is investigation, but for perception. And that's another whole thing between perception and investigation that D&D 5e should probably have explained a little bit better, especially for detecting stealth, because they use examples for either investigation and perception, and it should really honestly be either or. So, all right. So now we're going to go to the next part of this. You can't hide from a creature that can see you. And if you make noise, such as shouting and warning or knocking over a vase, you give away your position. So that's self-explanatory. You know, if those spiders see you and now you're in here and you don't see anything, you're going to use the shadows to your advantage and you're going to kind of blend in. Sure, you're going to have a hell of a roll, but guess what? Those spiders already know that you're there because you failed your perception check or your passive perception check. Their stealth roll was higher than your passive perception. So there's a lot of variables involved here, guys. Now, okay, let's see. Okay, give away an invisible creature cannot be seen, so it can always try to hide, and that's true. Invisibility is magic. Invisibility you can get from a potion, ring of invisibility, necklace of invisibility, weapon, whatever type of magic item grants you invisibility. Maybe it's a potion, maybe it's a spell, or maybe it is a scroll. Lots of ways to get invisibility. So they bring invisibility into hiding as well. So the only way that you're going to be noticed is when you're invisible. There's still things that can go on. They can hear your footsteps. They can see dust imprints on the ground. Just like in the movies, guys. Just like in the movies. So there's more variables that you need to take into consideration for invisibility. You can't be seen, but I will tell you this. You can be seen with invisibility only if the person has or creature has true sight. True sight can depending on the range of your true sight, that can see you. In light, normal light, in dim or darkness, true sight will see your butt. So you need to always be wary of that. But there's not really a whole lot of creatures that have true sight out there. So chances of you really being seen are very small. All right. And like it says here, signs of the invisibility, creature's invisibility, their passage might be noticed, but they still have to be quiet. So they can still hear you. They can hear you smacking gum, say if your character was smacking gum, or, like I said, footprints. If you knock over the vase, like in the example, they would see that. Even though they wouldn't see you, they would see the vase. And then all of a sudden, here comes the fireball in that direction. Which is what I would probably do. I'd probably blast the fireball over in that direction, and I'd nail somebody. And you would get nailed if you're invisible. So, all right. So in combat, most creatures stay alert for signs of danger all around. So if you come out of hiding and approach a creature, it will see you. However, under certain circumstances, the Dungeon Master might allow you to stay hidden as you approach a creature that is distracted, allowing you to gain advantage on the attack. Yes, totally. And a perfect example of this would be a small creature like a gnome or halfling. All right? You could use that to your advantage. You're hiding behind a medium or a large creature. Yes, you can still stay hidden that way. So yes, you can. That would give you advantage on your attack, because when you have the element of surprise, you can use that to your advantage. Now, however, that doesn't mean that you can just manipulate the shit out of that rule every round and say, peekaboo, now you see me, now you don't, and I'm just gonna stand behind Snaggletooth, the one-tusked bugbear, the whole entire fight, and I'm gonna exploit the hell out of this, because your Dungeon Master should not allow that. I would not allow that, because once they know you're there, you're not going to sneak up on them again. Not from the same thing that you had just done 6 seconds or one round before. So, yeah, that's not going to happen. So, the Dungeon Master might allow you to stay hidden as you approach creature distracted, being behind Snaggletooth, the big one-fanged bugbear, and then you get your advantage. Bam! Boom. Now it talks about passive perception. When you hide, there's a chance someone will notice you, even if they aren't searching. To determine whether such a creature notices you, the DM compares your dexterity stealth check with that creature's passive wisdom perception score. We already talked about that with Spider-Man at the beginning of this. And it tells you 10 plus the wisdom's modifier, and if you have any other magic item bonuses to perception, or if you are actually proficient in perception, then you could go ahead and add that proficiency bonus in there also. And if the creature has advantage, you would add 5, and that is for the passive roll. And if you have disadvantage, you take -5. Really easy to do. So here's an example for you as well. Sorry I keep coughing, guys. I'm still not 100% yet. But it's a lot better than it was last week. I was literally coughing every 30 seconds last week. I'm at least up to a long time before I got a cough now. So here's the example. All right. If a first level character with a proficiency bonus of 2 has a wisdom of 15, a modifier of 2, and proficiency in perception, he or she has a passive perception of 14. That's how it is. 10, 2, 2. Now, if the creature has advantage, you'd add 5 more. Or if it had disadvantage, you'd take away 5. And then you do the roll, and then you would compare against passive perception. Or the stealth. Depending on, the stealthy going against the person trying to notice someone. So, here's the last thing. What can you see? One of the main factors in determining whether you can find a hidden creature or object is how well you can see in an area. This is what I've been preaching the whole time, guys. Which might be lightly or heavily obscured, as in Chapter 8. All right, and that's like, lightly obscured area, heavily obscured. If it's dark, if it's bright, if it's dim, there's a lot of variables to take into consideration. And sometimes it can get a little, as a DM, you have to really think quick. So you need to really know the content, know your area that your adventurers are in, and you need to come up with this stuff like instantaneously. So now we've taken a look at hiding. All right, that's hiding. Let's take a look at stealth now. All right, stealth is totally different. It's sort of the same thing as hiding, but it is different. Now, this is where you make a dexterity stealth check when you attempt to conceal yourself from enemies, slink past guards, slip away without being noticed, or sneak up on someone without being seen or heard. All right, a lot of variables involved. Hiding is when you're here and somebody's coming into a room or something, or if you're hiding behind a tapestry, and you cut a couple eye holes in it and you're kind of looking at them, are they going to notice you hiding behind? Are they going to notice that lump behind the tapestry? That kind of stuff. So even though hiding uses dexterity stealth, I wish they would have done something different, but they wanted to keep the rules plain. They wanted to keep them basic with 5e. I'm totally for that. So that's why there's not a dexterity hiding, and that's why it's dexterity stealth. When in all reality, you're using the same roll, but the what you're trying to accomplish is totally different. So it can get, when you see dexterity stealth everywhere, it has that possibility to kind of confuse you, and but it does. All right, so this is where you conceal yourself from enemies, slink past guards, slip away without being noticed, or sneak up on someone without being seen or heard, so you can get in your 20d6 sneak attack. So, stealth. While traveling at a slow pace, the characters can move stealthily as long as they're not in the open. Now, keywords there. As long as they're not in the open, they can try to surprise or sneak by other creatures they encounter. There are exceptions to that rule. This could, the exception could be maybe the figure that you're trying to sneak up on is in a big open room, but that person has his back towards you. You can still do a stealth check to try to get up, get combat advantage, get your attack in with advantage, sneak attack damage because you have advantage, all that other stuff. So yes, you can still, and this could be in a brightly lit room. Maybe this figure is reading maybe the figure is reading a tome, just reading a tome, very, 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 heavily involved in reading in this tome. So you can sneak up behind this person. That's what stealth is. Maybe there's a couple people talking with one another. You may have to do a couple checks. Maybe you may have to do a check to try to Go around and flank them throughout the entire room, using the room to your advantage, and obstacles, chairs, tables, not only shadows, but the other variables. Statues. Can you slink around that big statue? Can you slink around the altar? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you guys really need to involve. So hiding is more stationary. Stealth is more movement. That's how I see it. All right. So stealth checks. Take advantage of your terrain. Take advantage of the lighting, how heavily obscured something is. If there's fog, if there's no fog, if there's one candle in this huge area, can you still be seen? And your DM's supposed to take all of this into consideration. So there you go. That's pretty much stealth. All right. Now let's talk about a couple of the variables, and we'll talk about the vision and light. Now I'm just like this. Like I said, guys, this is in the basic Dungeon Masters rules on the Wizards of the Coast website, and this is also, I think, in the exploration chapter in the Player's Handbook. Chapter 7, maybe? I think it's 7, and then I think combat's 8, and then spells start at 9. But anyways, vision and light. The most fundamental task of adventuring: noticing danger, finding hidden objects, hitting an enemy in combat, and targeting a spell, to name just a few, rely heavily on a character's ability to see. Darkness and other effects that obscure vision can prove a significant hindrance. So these are the variables that are being talked about. And guys, this is not in the same area of the PDF or the Player's Handbook. This stuff is spread out everywhere. So I took the time to find all of the main important points and put them here visually in front of you. This is not on the same page. This is on many different pages, which probably shouldn't be that way. So darkness and other effects that obscure vision can prove a significant hindrance. A given area might be lightly or heavily obscured. In a lightly obscured area, such as dim light, patchy fog, or moderate foliage, creatures have disadvantage on wisdom perception checks that rely on sight. Perfect. So lightly obscured, if you're traveling through maybe a field with grass, maybe like a sawweed grass that's up to your chest, maybe there's a couple lions in there that are going to pounce on you, or maybe I know that Warhuck doesn't like dinosaurs. Maybe there's some small those little velociraptors that could hide in. Are they the velociraptors? Anyway, any kind of creature that can pounce on you, you would have disadvantage. That's just the way lightly obscured works. Heavily obscured area, such as darkness, very dense foliage, blocks vision entirely. A creature in a heavily obscured area effectively suffers from the blinded condition. So you take a look at the blinded condition. Disadvantage, more disadvantage stuff, all right? The presence of absence of light in an environment creates three categories of illumination: bright light, dim light, and darkness. Here's the three lights. Bright light lets most creatures see normally. Even gloomy days provide bright light, as do torches, lanterns, fires, and other sources of illumination within a specified radius. Dim light, also called shadows, creates a lightly obscured area. An area of dim light is usually a boundary between a source of bright light, such as a torch, and surrounding darkness. The soft light of twilight and dawn also counts as dim light. A particularly brilliant full moon night bathed the land in dim light. And that's where stealth would really be strong for a rogue or an assassin. That's hiding would really help. Bright light, like I said, bright light, it can happen too, but there has to be variables. There has to be a lot of other things that are obscuring the area, like maybe fog, or maybe some statues, altars, bookshelves. Maybe you're in a very large library in a city, and you're trying to assassinate maybe you're trying to assassinate one of the librarians because that librarian is giving secrets to maybe another nation, or maybe giving it to a cultist organization that's not supposed to be getting this information. So you have to assassinate the librarian. So bright light, it can still happen. Stealth can still happen, but there has to be variables that are met. Now, the last is darkness. This creates a heavily obscured area. Characters face darkness outdoors at night, even most moonlit nights, within the confines of an unlit dungeon or a subterranean vault, or in an area of magical darkness. No need to explain that. Most dungeons are dark, except for if there's sconces on the wall with torches or whatnot. So let's talk about invisibility now. Now, invisibility, invisible, is an invisible creature is impossible to see without the aid of magic or a special sense. That is true, but that is not always true, because there are items out there that can make you see invisible creatures along with true sight. So, and I forgot to mention that earlier, but there are some magic items that will allow you to see hidden or not hidden, but invisible creatures. So for the purpose of hiding, the creature is heavily obscured. The creature's location can be detected by any noise it makes or any tracks it leaves. We've already talked about that. We're not going to beat a dead horse. Attack rolls against the creature have disadvantage, and the creature's attack rolls have advantage. Now, when you attack in stealth, you appear. All right? Just like video games. You are going to appear unless there are archetype class features that allow you to stay hidden on, say, a missed attack or something like that. So let's talk about invisibility's bane. That is true sight. A creature with true sight can, out to a specific range, see in normal and magical darkness, see invisible creatures and objects, automatically detect visual illusions, and succeed on saving throws against them, and perceive the original form of a shape changer or a creature that is transformed by magic, aka the doppelganger. Furthermore, there's a lot more than just a doppelganger out there. So, furthermore, the creature can see into the ethereal plane. No need to explain that anymore, unless you want to get into the different shape changers in the ethereal plane, which is really not pertaining to this DM workshop. So, yes, true sight can see invisible creatures. And also, like I said, some magic items will also allow you to see invisible creatures. Now, the last variable are the not really variable, but unseen attackers and targets. And this is basically for attacking that invisible creature that we just talked about, how you would have disadvantage on any attack roll against that creature that is invisible. So combatants often try to escape their foes' notice by hiding, casting the invisibility spell, or lurking in darkness. When you attack a target that you cannot see, you have disadvantage on the attack roll. So it can happen for invisibility, it can happen for hiding, and it can happen for stealthing. And as you guys can see here, it's labeling each one of these as its own special thing. So they're their own identity. They're their own, things. Like I've been saying the whole time. All right? Even though I didn't convey that very beautifully to everybody, they are their own entities. Hiding, stealth, invisibility. Own entities. Biddy-skiboo, biddy-skiboo. Boom, biddy-skiboom, biddy-skiboom. Work, work, work. Suspicious bag, man, dude. Thanks so much, man. I appreciate the support. I really do. So, when you attack a target that you can't see, you have disadvantage on the attack roll, and this is true whether you're guessing the target's location or you're targeting a creature you can hear but not see, meaning footsteps, stuff like that. If the target isn't in the location you targeted, you automatically miss, but I'm sure the dungeon master will probably say, go ahead and roll. Let's see if you hit. And even if you roll that 20, oh, I hit! Ba, 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 ba. No, you missed. I'm sorry. He was not in the area. But the DM typically just says that the attack missed, not whether you guessed the target's location correctly or not. When a creature can't see you, you have advantage on attack rolls against it. and that goes with stealth, that goes with hiding, that goes with invisibility. Advantage means that you roll twice, take the highest roll. Then if you're if you're a rogue, then that opens up sneak attack for you also. Really nice. And if you are hidden, both unseen and unheard, like hiding behind that tapestry, when you make an attack, you give away your location when the attack hits or misses. And that goes for invisibility as well. Hiding behind a tapestry, sneaking up between the two gentlemen, reading the tome in front of you on the pedestal. Once you read all the variables, guys, it really starts to make sense. But the way that Wizards of the Coast conveys this in the basic PDF and the player's handbook, it can lead to confusion because it's spread out all over the place. It should have stealth, it should have hiding, it should have vision and light, it should have all the variables, unseen attackers, invisibility, true sight. All this stuff here should be in the same section. It should. But yet vision and light should still be in exploration and stuff. So it's got to be in two places. Or just say, hey, refer to this page for all of the variables that would be taken into consideration for stealth, for hidden, hiding, whatever. So there we go, guys. That is everything that I believe, and this is how I believe it's supposed to work in D&D 5e. Every DM can interpret it differently. Players, of course, interpret things differently. And it's up to you to, as a DM, to be consistent with your rulings in stealth and hiding and invisibility. So I hope this kind of breaks the ice for everybody, and I hope this kind of gets rid of some of the confusion about all of these different things that you can do with stealth, hiding, and invisibility. So feel free to leave a comment down below, guys. Totally appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.